The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. A leper came to Jesus and pleaded on his knees. "If you want to," he said, "you can cure me." Feeling sorry for him, Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him. "Of course I want to," he said. "Be cured." And the leprosy left him at once, and he was cured. Jesus immediately sent him away and sternly ordered him, "Mind you say nothing to anyone, but go and show yourself to the priest and make the offering for your healing prescribed by Moses as evidence of your recovery." The man went away, but then started talking about it freely and telling the story everywhere, so that Jesus could no longer go openly into any town, but had to stay outside in places where nobody lived. Even so, people from all around would come to him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
If you want to, you can heal me. What kind of question is that? Huh? What kind of question is that? If you want to, you can heal me. You know, the leper comes, and he comes with faith, huh? Because the question says that I know that you have the power to do it. And I know and I trust that you can. But if you want to, you can heal me. So all he's asking Jesus is about the will of Jesus. Is it Jesus' will to heal him? That's what he's asking. What is the will? What is your will in this situation? If you want to, you can heal me. It's a very provocative question. A very powerful question. If you want to, you can heal me. The man comes, and he comes in a disposition of humility. He comes and he's kneeling on the ground. He's paying homage to Jesus. And he's asking him, what is your will in this situation? What is your will in this situation? Isn't that how we pray? Huh? Talk to me now. Isn't that exactly how we pray? We come with total humility. We bend our knee and give deference to him because we know he's God. And then we ask him what his will is in the situation, so that we come only to his will and not to our will that we want to impose on him. Isn't that exactly how we, the 21st century Christians, do our prayer? Isn't it? All you're gone silent on me, you know. All you're gone silent. Wait. Hold on now. Wait, wrong then. That's not how we do it. Huh? This is a model of Christian prayer. It's a model because it's a discernment model. The leper is asking a question because he wants an answer. But he's not giving a solution because he knows that his solution may not be the right one. How often have we gone to prayer telling Jesus exactly what to do and how to do it and when it's supposed to happen? Come now. I'm not hearing you. All you gone silent. Huh? How often have we come to him in arrogance and pride, believing that we want something that is more perfect than what he wants, and actually not even trusting his will? How often? How often? But this leper comes. He comes on bended knee. And on bended knee, he makes his proposition. And what he's saying is, Lord, your will be done. What he's saying is, Lord, your will be done, if you want to. If you so will it, if you so will it, heal me. Heal me. Your will be done. This is humility, this is discernment, and this is a desire to bend my heart to the will of God. All wrapped up in one simple question. Lord, if you want to, you can heal me. The text is a provocative text because we have a perfect image of discipleship in a single question, a perfect image of the disposition of prayer in a single question, the perfect image of how the disciple comes to the master in a single prayer, a single request. And it's all wrapped up in the fact that this man happens to be a leper. So Jesus started in the church and he exorcised the church devils. All you remember that? When he left the church, he went to the house and he cured the woman. And the woman who had stretched forth her hand to the tree of life, to the tree of knowledge, to eat the fruit, was cured and brought back into the community and goes to service. And now the man who was struck as abhorrent to God, who was chased out of the garden because of his sin sickness, who, because he had also partaken in this fruit, was cast out of the presence of God. This man now comes kneeling before God. Kneeling before God. Because you only bow to God and to God alone. And so the leper understood something that the rest of his disciples had not yet understood, and says, if you want to, you can heal me. The tradition of the church sees in this the condition of Adam after the fall, a condition of spiritual leprosy, and untouchable. Because remember, an angel was placed between the man and the garden, so that if he wanted to, he could not come back into the garden. He could not come back to be touched by God. In the Genesis story, God touches Adam and breathes life into him. And the story of the healing of the man with leprosy, God touches the leper and restores him to complete health. The imagery of the leprosy is an imagery of the condition of the human that is not yet redeemed by Christ. It is the image of your soul and how your soul stands before God when you are unredeemed by Christ. Or how your soul stands when you are in mortal sin. When you have been cut off from Christ. And in this imagery, Mark is playing with very big images and cosmic thinking. And trying to help us to start to understand the implications of the ministry of Jesus Christ. That the one who was cast out of the garden, the one who could not return, the one who walked in the cool of the evening with God and knew God as his friend, the one who could touch God and God would touch him, this one who became untouchable is now touched by God. The text has a curious thing, you know. It says in the original Greek, it says that Jesus, so the English says feeling sorry for him. The original Greek actually says, and being angered. Being angered. Which is curious. Being angered. Why is Jesus being angered? It's a curious phrase. He's angry because this is not the condition that man ought to be living in. He's angry because this was not how it was supposed to be. He's angry because this leper represents the state of all humanity. And this was not God's intention. This was not the will of God when he created Adam and Eve. He created him to live in his presence in love and to experience the intimacy that comes from being in God's presence. He was created, man and woman were created to know God, love God, and serve God. And man has become untouchable because of his sin. Because of his sin, man has become untouchable. And because of the ancient serpent that was already exercised, that created the drama of the separation, man here in the condition after the fall as an untouchable one is now touched by God. And in this touch, he's restored to complete health. If you want to, you can heal me. Adam didn't ask what God wanted. In fact, Adam knew God's will. And what did Adam do? He presumed that he knew better than God. And in his presumption, what Adam did was he defiled what God had asked of him. God set out his will, and Adam went completely against his will in pride. And the whole drama began. This one comes in humility, kneeling on the ground and saying, if you want to, you can heal me. If you want to, you can heal me. And the movement of the leper is a movement to redemption of humanity. And in this single act, we see that it is a divine act. And we know that because when the prophet Elijah was around, Naboth got his king to send a letter to the king of Israel to say, this is my servant Naboth, he has leprosy, and I'm asking please that you cure him. Thank you. And what did the king do? He tore his garments and he said, this man wants to start a war with me, you know. Who am I? Am I a god to cure this man of leprosy? Am I a god? And Elijah says to the king, do not be afraid, because Naboth and his king will know today that there is a God in Israel. And Elijah cures him. But the king understood you have to be a God to cure leprosy. In our first reading, we had all of the precautions and prescriptions against leprosy because it was a dreaded disease. The leper had to be out and not touched. He had to be alone. He was the socially outcast, the most socially outcast of all the people who lived in that society. The leper was the untouchable one, the one that you would look down upon. And when the leper saw you, the leper was bound to cover his mouth and say, unclean, unclean, to let you know that you must not come close to him. And Jesus now chooses, after exorcising the demons in the church, after healing the woman in the house, he now chooses to touch the unclean. And in touching the unclean, to say something to us, that there's no one who is unclean. Because Jesus makes the unclean clean again. Jesus makes the unclean clean again. And if the church acts in the name of Jesus, then the church must be touching the unclean. You know, every society sets up this notion of clean and unclean. Huh? Socially excluded people. People who don't count. People who, if they are in society, the society makes them into pariahs. Makes them into people who are of no standing and of no care and consideration whatsoever. I am sure in heaven this leper is thanking God. All now from praising God to the highest heavens. And saying to himself, you know, if I was that kind of unclean person in Trinidad, you know, I might have gone into a police station and fallen off a chair or something. Something like that might have happened to me because they would have considered me with such little regard that they might have just killed me and nobody might ask a question anymore. We do something in a society When we decide that a person has done certain things, we do something in a society. When we say that this person has no dignity anymore, and therefore whatever happens to him, he deserves it. And we kill the soul of a society whenever we don't care anymore about the unclean and the treatment to the unclean that happens. We do something to the soul of a country. When we start to call for hanging because of heinous crime, we do something to the soul of a society. What we have lived through in the last couple of weeks is gut-wrenching. And I understand why Jesus is angry. I too am angry at the kind of crimes that have happened against women in this society. It's terrible, it's unforgivable, it's despicable that we should live in a society like this. It is. But I also am angry that things like this can happen in our society. And no one raises a voice as if something just is normal, that people could fall off of chairs. I think we have to wake up as a society and see when we brandish people as unclean and we make them into pariah, and then we rob them of being a human being, and we start to use words on them as if somehow they are less than human, that we turn our soul into peril. Because Jesus touches the unclean. He touches the unclean. In a country, nobody is guilty until a court of law says so. Jesus touches the unclean. Our text goes on, and what it does next is the most incredible thing. Because it says that having touched the unclean, the man was made pure. And Jesus says, of course I want to be clean. Of course I want to. Of course I want to. Jesus' will and the man's will aligned, and the man is healed. Of course I want to be clean. Of course I want to. And the leprosy left him right away. So he was socially outcast. He had to ring bells and cry out. But Jesus made him clean. The law was that if you touched the leper, you became unclean and had to go through ritual purity. And you could also contract this disease. But here, Jesus touches a man, and it is not Jesus who is made unclean. It is a man who has been made clean. It is him who has been cured. It is him who has experienced life again. If you want to, he says, if you want to, you can heal me. The tradition of our church sees in this leper an external manifestation of the inner state of the soul. And Jesus says to the man, go and show yourself to the priest and offer the offering that is prescribed there. And as he shows himself to the priest, he must bring 2 turtle doves, or 2 pigeons. And when he brings them, one of them is killed as a sin offering, because it is understood that the condition was a condition of sin. And the second one is dipped in the blood of the one that was killed and set free to fly. And there you would have already seen the condition of Jesus, who becomes the lamb offering, the higher level of offering, whose blood sets us free and allows us to fly and to become what God created us to become, sons and daughters of God. The people who know the incredible love of God, what we have been created for, to love God, to know God, to serve God in this world, and to be with him forever in the next. And to treat all people with dignity, and to treat all people as if they are people. That's why we were created. But in the text, we also understand the foundation of the Sacrament of Reconciliation. Because in this text, we hear Jesus saying something. Go and show yourself to the priest. You know, many people ask me the question, why it is I can't pray and God forgive me? And let me leave it right there. It is real simple. The text, Jesus says to the man, go and show yourself to the priest. Because the priest was the one to do two things for the sinner. First, to render him and pronounce him as clean again. And second, to reunite him back into the society. So he could come back into the temple and worship God again with all the people. You show yourself to the priest because it is the priest who has been given the power to forgive. Right after the resurrection, Jesus meets them and says, whoever sins you forgive, they are. And whose sins you retain, they are. Go and show yourself to the priest, because it is only the priest who can do these two things, both forgive the sin and reinstate you into the community. Because every act of sin is a sin against the whole community. Every sin is a violation against all of us. Each one is affected by the sin of the one. My sin affects you and your sin affects me. And it is so that a society goes in a degenerate way. Because we start to think that sin is okay and that we are okay and there's no such thing as sin anymore. And we stop understanding the consequence of our sin. But the leper understood the consequence of his sin. And understanding the consequence, he knelt before Jesus and said, if you want to, you can heal me. And Jesus healed him and said to him, go to the priest. Go to the priest, because it is in the sacrament of reconciliation that you will be forgiven and reunited to the community. Go to the priest, because he alone can take this burden that you carry off your shoulders. Go and see the priest, because it is the priest who will lighten your load and pronounce you again a member of this community, church, and a member of the family of God. Part of the body of Jesus Christ, with all the dignity that Christ himself has. It is a priest who has been given that authority by God, and without the priesthood, there will not be this reconciliation that Jesus has promised to us. Go and show yourself to the priest. The man is told, and in being told this, he does. Our text today is a wonderful text. But it's a troubling text, because we live in a time where, through social media, popular opinion spreads so quickly about who is in and who is out. And we become the kind of society that has labeled people as all kinds of things. And in our labeling of people, we are depriving them of their true dignity as the children of God. If we as a society, if we as a church dare to touch the untouchable in a more regular way, we might find a healing balm in this nation for the rumbling that we see. If we make choices to be as Jesus was to the leper, we might find a more humane way of being a society. So in your little sphere of influence, in your circle, who are the people who have been treated by lepers? The black sheep in your family, who are they? Who are the ones that, from the time they turn up, everybody roll their eye? Well, you know what I'm talking about. Who are they? Who are they? Who are the people in your street that everybody kind of looks down on and everybody shuns? Who are they? Who are the ones that we, as society, has relegated to the outposts and seen as these people who must not be touched at all? Who are they? Because Jesus has a message for you today, and a message for me. And it is a simple message. When I touch the unclean, I make them clean. And if you are part of the body of Christ, when you touch the unclean, God too will make them clean. We have a wonderful country, this Trinidad and Tobago is. But our conscience must be stirred today. Our conscience has to be stirred today. Because if we keep going down the road we're going, we'll find ourselves in deep and troubling places. if you want to, you can heal us, Lord. And I say that on behalf of all of Trinidad and Tobago, because we are the leper. We are the leper. We are the one who is unclean, and we are the one who is in need of God's healing. If you want to, Lord, if you want to, you can heal us. If you want to. And I stand as Trinidad and Tobago begging God. And the word that he says is, if my people would humble themselves and pray. If my people would humble themselves and pray and listen to my word, then I will reach down from heaven and I will heal their land. Amen.